So, back in November 2021, Bitcoin got one of its biggest upgrades ever, and it's called Taproot. Now, this was a huge deal, a really fundamental change to how the network operates, all designed to boost privacy and efficiency in a pretty revolutionary way. But to really get why it's so important, we've got to start with one simple question. What if you could have a really complex contract, with multiple people involved, and have it show up on the blockchain looking exactly the same as a simple everyday payment, like you sending a friend money for coffee? It sounds a bit like a magic trick, right? Well, that's the core idea that makes this whole upgrade so powerful.
You see, before Taproot, Bitcoin had what you might call a transparency problem. And while transparency sounds good, in this case, it meant that different kinds of transactions left really different footprints on the blockchain. And that created some major headaches for both privacy and just basic efficiency.
Yeah, before Taproot, the system was basically an open book. A simple payment, like you see on the left, looked really clean. One person sends, one person signs, done. But something more complex, like a multi-sig transaction from a company's joint account, well, that stuck out like a sore thumb. You could see all the different signatures right there on the blockchain. This wasn't just bad for privacy because it exposed how the wallet was set up, but all that extra data, it literally cost more in transaction fees.
And that's where Taproot comes in. Is this incredibly elegant upgrade, the result of years of work and community agreement designed to fix this exact problem. So what is it really? Well, simply put, Taproot is a bundle of new technologies that work together to make pretty much every Bitcoin transaction look the same. It doesn't matter if it's a simple payment, a complex corporate multisig, or an advanced smart contract. They all get to wear the same simple disguise.
Okay, so you're probably sitting there thinking, how is that even possible? Well, it all comes down to a couple of key cryptographic breakthroughs. These are the secret ingredients behind the magic. The whole foundation of Taproot is built on a new type of digital signature called a Schnorr signature. It replaced Bitcoin's original signing algorithm, and it has this one absolutely crucial property that changes the entire game: linearity. In simple terms, this just means you can mathematically combine multiple signatures into a single one. And that one simple idea? That's the key to everything. This table right here just breaks it down perfectly. Bitcoin's old system, ECDSA, was super secure, but it was nonlinear. You couldn't add signatures together. The new Schnorr signatures are, first of all, a little bit smaller, which saves space, but the key feature, the one that matters, is linearity. It's the thing that allows for aggregation. And trust me, this is a complete game changer.
I want you to think of it like a special partnership stamp. So instead of both Alice and Bob needing to sign a check separately, this linearity thing lets them combine their individual keys into one single aggregate key. Then, when it's time to actually spend the money, they combine their signatures into one single aggregate signature. To the blockchain, it just looks like one person signed with one key. All the behind-the-scenes complexity is totally hidden.
And the result of this is just profound, because you can combine keys and signatures, those complicated multi-sig setups we saw earlier. They now look completely identical to a standard single-person payment. All of that complexity just vanishes from view. But wait, Taproot is even smarter than that. It knows that, sometimes things don't go according to plan. So it gives users two different ways to spend their Bitcoin: a default path for when everybody agrees, and a backup path for special conditions or emergencies. Honestly, the best analogy here is a prenuptial agreement. The key path on the left, that's the happy, cooperative path. The couple agrees on a purchase, they use their special combined signature, and nobody ever even knows the prenup exists. But if there's a dispute, or some pre-agreed condition happens, they use the script path. And here's the brilliant part. This only reveals the one specific clause from the contract needed for that one situation, while keeping everything else totally private. So when you combine all of these things, the signature aggregation, these two different spending paths, what you get is nothing short of a privacy revolution for Bitcoin. Think about it. Before Taproot, if you were a blockchain analyst, you could learn a ton just by watching the network. You could easily spot which wallets were controlled by multiple people. You could identify transactions that had time locks. You could tell different kinds of smart contracts apart. It was like every single transaction was wearing a big, bright label describing exactly what it was. And after Taproot, well, those labels are gone. A simple payment, a corporate treasury transaction, a complex financial contract, they all become needles in a haystack of identical-looking needles. This makes analyzing the blockchain based on transaction type so much harder, which is a massive, massive win for user privacy. And hey, it's not just about privacy, it's also about efficiency, which really just means saving money. This chart says it all. In the old system, a 2 of 2 multisig transaction was about 40% bigger on chain than a simple one. With Taproot, it takes up the exact same amount of space. This directly saves users money on transaction fees, and the more complex your setup, the more you save. So let's just nail down the key takeaways. First, Taproot gives a massive boost to privacy by hiding all that transaction complexity. Second, it makes the whole network more efficient, saving space on the blockchain and money for users. And finally, and this is huge, it creates a powerful new foundation for building way more sophisticated and private smart contracts right on top of Bitcoin. Which really just leaves us with this one final fascinating question. Taproot gives developers a way to make complexity totally invisible on the blockchain. So what's next? What new applications, what new financial tools, what new privacy systems are going to be built now that they can effectively hide in plain sight? The possibilities are really only just beginning to be explored.